Hi, and welcome back to Meet the Eatmons Endangered Species Podcast, where we inspire, uplift, and spotlight families and individuals that we think are doing something special in the world. We are your hosts, Curtis and Spring Eatman, and we're very excited to be here with you.
Yes, we are family. So whether you're raising a family, maybe you're healing from one, or maybe you are positioning your family to break generational patterns, this message is really going to be for you. I'm really excited. We're going to be talking about the Black family, but we're going to give insights that actually applies to everyone.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
yeah,
So this week is Juneteenth,
it is.
right?
Yes.
And I'm really excited about Juneteenth because, being that we moved here to Texas from California,
Yeah.
this is actually the state that was that Juneteenth was about, right? This is where the emancipation of
Yep.
Black enslaved people, when they finally found out that slavery had been abolished and they had
Wow.
no idea.
Yeah.
And so this is why we celebrate Juneteenth, and it's such an important historic time for our country, and for the Black community.
Yeah, exciting. So if legacy matters to you, make sure you hit share, and share this with someone else that is looking to shape their future on a whole different level. But we have some segments, we have some topics we want to get in today that I think is going to be able to add a lot of value for sure. So let's get right into it. The first one is the media muzzle. Okay. So my
Yes.
question for you is, like, what, where are the images? Like, where are the positive images at all? Because one of the things that I consistently keep seeing is like we know there's strong families that are there, right? Especially Black ones, if we're going to use that as an example. But like, where are they?
Yeah.
Like we don't see them. Like, so what's your mindset, or I guess you would say, what is your perspective on that? Is why we don't see them too much?
Yeah. I think that a lot of times seeing strong, happy, functioning Black families, it historically has not been the narrative that mainstream media has wanted to see or push.
Mm.
And therefore that's why we're not seeing that as much. There are some there, but it's very few and in between, right? Very few and in between that you see positive Black families in the media. I grew up watching like the Cosby Show and things like that, right?
Yeah.
And then we've also had shows like Blackish and other shows where it did show like positive Black family
Fresh
units.
Prince of Bel Air.
Yes,
Like,
exactly. But it feels like you get like one every generation. Right? And
yeah,
when it comes to like actual real Black families, a lot of times that's not being seen, but it is there.
100% there. Yeah.
Today I think we have one of the strongest representations in history that we have ever had of the strength of Black families. Fathers being in the home, fathers raising their kids,
Hmm.
families staying together, married couples, relationships, all of these different things. I think that we probably have more young Black kids being raised in a two-parent household today,
Yeah.
more than any time in our history. And so I think that that's amazing and it's a beautiful thing, but unfortunately it's not being celebrated. We're still seeing the single mom or the single dad or the broken family unit is
Mm.
still being the narrative that's really pushed.
It's interesting because anytime I'm on Instagram and things like that, a lot of that's being pushed. Like the one of the actors, I think his name is Shamar Moore,
Hmm.
right? And he was talking about he had a post, his longtime girlfriend, that he would never marry her because he didn't have a good role model growing up.
Hmm.
That was the post, right? I was
Hmm.
like, huh, why are we, showing that?
Right.
So then someone else that looks like him, talks like him, walks like him, that's just a younger version of him, sees that and
Hmm.
says, oh, that's my reason why I don't have to get married.
Yeah. Well,
So
I mean, let's just be real. Shamar Moore doesn't necessarily need to be the poster child for the Black family. So
I wasn't trying to put my man's out there. He put himself out there. Yeah.
love you, Shamar, but no.
That's so funny.
But what do you
But
think happens when these narratives and these positive examples are being hidden?
I think the media really monetizes on pain.
Mm-hmm.
I think they understand they have a formula,
Yeah.
and so strength really gets silenced when they start really thinking about that. So you got to look at what pays.
Yeah.
And a lot more people like drama. A lot of people like to be entertained than being educated.
Ooh, that's very true.
So when it comes to that, and especially, unfortunately, I have to say it, but in the Black community, we look for more entertainment. We have no problem spending money on that.
Mm-hmm.
And so, those that control the media, right,
Mm-hmm.
understand that too, what we buy. So that's why they keep pushing that,
Yeah.
unfortunately. So until we understand that we're in that cycle and that's what we're purchasing, they will stop feeding that to us at the same point too. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So that would be my point why we don't see it as much.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that's really true, and it's super unfortunate
Yeah.
that that's continuing to be the narrative. But I love that we see a lot more families together. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I
I do.
mean, even in not even just in media, just in regular life. Like,
Yeah.
I remember growing up and it being an anomaly for my friends to have a mom and a dad.
Yeah.
I remember growing up and that was something that was like super common, was to be from a single parent household.
Yeah. There
But
was
then
definitely a phase during that. Yeah,
yeah,
for sure.
but I feel like today, even we look at like our friends, we look
Mm-hmm.
at our kids, friends, parents, and families, and all these different things. I feel like it's not like that anymore. Like, I feel like our generation has been so focused on closing generational gaps and being able to eradicate generational
I
curses from
agree.
their family, and healing and all these different things, and like doing the work,
Yeah.
that I think that there's definitely a lot more families that are making it work and staying together.
I agree with that. I think I saw a post recently saying that the millennial generation just alone spends 3 times more with their kids than their parents spend with them.
Hmm.
So yes, I would agree with you that alone, just depending on what we all experience, maybe with
Hmm.
our parents, they weren't being able to be home as much because they're working a lot more.
Hmm.
A lot more people today that are parents now step
Right.
in that phase, say, you know what? I'm going to keep the family closer. We believe in having more family time. We're going to make sure that it's not broken.
Right.
We're going to start having more principles, values. But the problem still is that it's not being publicized.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
right, we're still seeing the example of Shema Moore in this example here, right?
Yeah.
And other things that are going on that's controlling that narrative.
And honestly, I feel like that's such a cop out, like
Hmm.
that being his comment and his mindset. And
Yeah.
because, like, first of all, the girl, she
Uh-oh.
better than me, and you know what that means.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Something must
if
be
a black
happening.
person ever says you better than me, they calling you stupid. Let's just put that out there. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I'm just saying that it's like, why would we not want to do better than what was done for you? So if you're saying I'll never marry because I didn't have a good example,
Mm.
no, now why would you not want to just become the good example?
Yeah.
Like, this woman is obviously somebody that you see as marriage material, otherwise you wouldn't
Yeah.
be with her for 10 years, right? This is somebody that,
It's a very long time.
so it's like you're
Yeah.
literally just being married without the title and the commitment and the reality of it. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I mean, we have a question for you. I mean, you gotta think about it. So like, what show or
Hmm.
movie that actually like shows a healthy, multidimensional family?
Hmm.
Like, is there one that maybe watch or maybe see, share with us, because we just need more examples. We would love to know.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
All right.
I know it's so funny because I feel like it's so hard to find clean family TV today.
Is that even real?
Right, right.
Like,
But at least having good examples. Like I said, I think Blackish is definitely one of them.
mm,
It's a hilarious show. It's not on, I mean, it's still in syndication, but
got
they're
you.
not making new episodes anymore. But it was such a great positive show for Black families. But yeah, let us know. What are some shows that you watch that you feel like have some good examples?
Yeah, we love it. Let's go to the next one, which is the breadwinner breakdown,
Mm-hmm.
which has a lot to do with everything here. So when you talk about breadwinner breakdown, you talk about money, ego, and respect.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So like, is leadership in the home about income, or is it more about the intention?
Mm. See, when we're talking about the Black family, historically, I think that as a people, we kind of tend to be a little more traditional when it comes to that.
Yeah, for sure.
That we are very big collectively, I think, as a people, of uplifting the Black man and also uplifting the Black woman, obviously. But
Hmm.
I think definitely making sure that it's not about an income, but it's about a respect of a king having his place, and so I think that's
Hmm.
important for us to have, male role models in the household, and
Very
and
important.
it doesn't have to be about how much do you make and what are you doing and all of those different things. It's like, are you a good person that's instilling the right values and principles, that's leading our family in the right way, right? It's not about an income. And I think that that's really important today, to set the precedence, because in a lot of cases, sometimes a lot of women are making more money
Yeah, that's true.
than their spouses. And so, but I don't think that that's a position where it's like it needs to be who's making more, right? And it doesn't mean that, like, maybe you don't believe in that one person is more of the lead than the other. It might be that it's like, oh well, we lead the house 50-50 equal. Okay, still perfect, but that's still, I don't think money is in the equation. It's
Mm.
really about your family and the decision that you guys make about how you guys lead. It might be just about who has a more dominant personality in some relationships.
Yeah.
But I don't agree with money and ego having to equate to respect and to leadership at all. I don't subscribe to that.
It's interesting because the research shows that 83% of relationships where a woman is the breadwinner will fail.
Wow. And that probably has to deal with that issue. So I don't know. I think ego definitely would
Yeah.
play a role in it, but I don't know if it's necessarily just the ego of the woman, or if it's the small ego of the man in some cases, because I know a lot of men can't handle it when the woman is making more money than
Yeah.
them.
I
And
some
so,
some men can handle it.
yeah,
Yeah.
so in some cases, I think when we hear that, a lot of time people's mindset immediately goes to, oh, the woman has to be flaunting her money and throwing her weight around, and that's why the relationship doesn't work 83%.
Well, when you say ego, that would be to a man though. Like in my opinion, like when we say ego, we're saying if she makes more money, his ego can't handle that.
Yes, but I'm
Yeah.
saying that's not what most people think. When
Hmm.
most people think 83% of relationships because of women being the breadwinner, I think a lot of people think immediately, oh, it's because the woman has a bad attitude and she's wanting to wear the pants and be like ego driven about being the breadwinner.
And there's no respect to the man still because
Yes.
she makes the money and she runs
Mm-hmm.
the household.
I think that's
Okay.
where a lot of
Yeah.
people think when they hear that kind of a stat.
Yeah, yeah, it makes
But
sense.
I
Yeah.
think mostly it's probably what you just said. I think mostly it probably has more to do with the fact that a lot of men, their ego can't handle the fact that the woman is making more than them. And therefore they end up, it just doesn't work.
I just it just seems like a recipe that doesn't work. You know.
83% of the time apparently it doesn't.
Yeah.
But I don't think that that's the true. I can't say that that's a recipe that doesn't work. If a woman makes more money, then it doesn't work. It
Well, not
does.
necessarily. I'm not saying that. I'm
Uh-huh.
saying that the stats show that a man can't handle it, or he's not prepared to handle, or he doesn't understand the tools to mature wise to handle it.
Mhm.
If ego is the problem, and then on the other side, maybe a woman is pushing the weight too much. If that's the perception too, we don't know,
Mhm.
obviously, but there's something here. Like
Yeah.
8 out of 10.
Yeah.
Like that's not all I'm saying is that the system of this
Mhm.
doesn't work.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I think that it's really important for you as a couple to be very clear on who you are and not allow some, like, statistics
Oh, by
to
far. Yeah.
say, oh, the man should be making more money,
No, that's not. Yeah.
therefore, I don't agree with that. I feel like if you love each other and if you're both great people, and that, you want the same things, then why should that matter?
Oh, I don't think it matters. But
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying that the stats show that it does matter.
I know, but
Yeah.
well, I'm just saying that you said the system shows that doesn't work. So I'm like,
It show,
I don't like that narrative of
but
the
but
system shows.
8 out of 10 is 8 out of 10. That's like me, it's not 50-50, it's not two.
Yeah.
That's 8 out of 10 saying that it doesn't. So all I'm saying is that the society that has been created, the systems that have been created for this situation hasn't shown to prosper. That's all
Yeah.
I'm saying. Like,
But I think with mentorship and help, no,
you need help,
I think,
basically, if you're in a
yeah,
situation.
I
Yeah, yeah.
just, I think it can work. And I mean, it does work. I mean, it's not 100% of the time.
17%.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is that men need to grow up and get over that shit. No.
You feel some type of way. Yeah, right.
And
Come on, man. Get it
women,
together, man. Like,
no, I'm just saying,
no,
I
it's all-
know that that's such a big issue for some, because
It
that is
is.
also
It
part
is.
of the statistics for Black women, why so many Black women are single. Because they maybe have gone for career or whatever, and then they start to make make a lot of
True.
income,
True.
or and then men start becoming intimidated by them.
Yeah, they can't handle it.
Yeah, it's like, I don't understand why that's even an issue or a factor if the woman doesn't make it an issue or a factor.
If she doesn't, yes.
Yeah, if she doesn't.
Yeah, that's
and
a
that's
big-
the if.
that's
the
if.
if.
That's
That's
an
the
if.
if. That's the if.
There we go. That's the 17%. Gotta love us. All right. All right. Well, I mean, ultimately, I think it comes down to the weight of the identity of the man.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it's going to come down to in this situation. That's not just in the Black community. That's in all cultures, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
Because you see this everywhere. So, when we're talking about this, like, have you seen a successful relationship where the income didn't create an imbalance? That's a question for you. I would love to know in the comments. All right. And if so, what made it work?
That's a good one. What made it work?
What made it work if it was imbalance? We would love to know, because we want to know the 17%. Yeah, maybe it's louder. Maybe the narrative on this is wrong too. That's been publicized, right?
Yes, yes.
All right,
Another
perfect.
thing I think that we hear a lot with this, when it comes to the Black family unit, is that Black men don't love like they don't like Black women.
You hear that?
You definitely hear that,
Mm-hmm.
right? There's so many guys. I mean, we grew up
Yeah, I mean,
in a city where there was this many of us,
yeah.
and even with that, it was like the Black guys that were there. A lot of them dated the white girls, the Asian girls, and so the Black girls were kind of just like blowing in the wind, right, for a long period of time. And so I think that it is a narrative out there, and you definitely have heard people say in your
Of
lifetime,
course they
like,
say
"Oh,
it.
I don't date Black women." It's like, is your mama Black? What's the problem? I don't understand. Like,
You hear that? Yeah.
like, why? Right? So, but I think that that's a narrative that it's like so loud, but it's not the majority.
It's not the majority. Not at all. I think that love is love, number one. Let's be very clear on that, right? But the narrative of that you will never date what birthed you, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, I mean, if you fall in love with somebody that's outside of your race, that's one thing.
That's fine.
But it's
Yeah.
different to say, I do not date Black women. Like, I exclusively do not date Black women. That is crazy.
Yeah, that right there, I don't think is a fact. I think that was somebody's feeling and someone's perspective that they want to make louder than the other. They just had a microphone,
Yeah.
and so it's become a trend.
Yeah, it has. It has. But it's not the reality in most cases, right? Yeah.
I don't agree. Yeah, I don't think it's reality at all. Well, which brings us to our next one. Programmed, right? Programmed to divide. The lie we've been sold, so when you look at the real threat to families is misinformation, division across all cultures.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, what do you think has been, some of the things that really been portrayed consistently? I know you just mentioned about, Black men don't date Black women. Another one has been that Black women don't respect Black men.
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
That's been a narrative, right?
Yes.
So then a lot of black men will say, "Well, I'll never date. I don't want to mess with a black woman because she's crazy, or she doesn't respect me. I'll date out my race because they're going to respect me. They're going to make me a king." And all these different. You hear that,
Mm-hmm.
right? What do you think about that?
Yeah, I don't think again, I don't think it's the majority. I don't think that it's true. I think that for the most part, black women can understand the plight of a black man more than anyone else
Mm,
in this world. It's like black men are really honestly the most undervalued person in the world. Because I think a lot of people overlook them. They overlook their value. They just assume that they should be okay. They should be strong. They shouldn't cry. They shouldn't all of these different things, right? There's just so many different things. But I think that next to the black man is the black woman, and so I think
mm,
that we have an understanding for each other's plight. And I think that most black women want to cheerlead and uplift black men, but it's hard to be a cheerleader for someone you feel like is not valuing you. So I think that sometimes it's that vicious cycle of like, women want love, men want respect. But if women feel like they're not being loved, then they don't give respect. And if men feel like they're not being respected, they don't give love.
yeah,
And I think that has been a cycle that has happened.
yeah,
But I think that, again, we're breaking that cycle.
I agree.
And I think that it's becoming a lot more of a unified community
Yeah, another one
today.
is always you hear is that when a black man becomes wealthy,
Hmm.
he won't marry a black woman.
Oh, yes. I mean, there's lots of examples of that. That's where that 17%.
That's not true though. That's a fallacy. Do you know any that the fact is that over 85% of black wealth that make over 200,000, that 85% of them do marry a black woman?
That's great. Good for us. Good. Look at us coming along. Look
That's
at
crazy.
us.
You see
Good
how she
for us.
feels? The fact is over 85%.
But that's again what you don't see it in the
That's
media.
what I'm saying.
You don't see it in the
They
media
put
as
out the
much.
15%.
Yes,
Yeah.
correct. You don't see that in the media. You
Yes.
see all of the everybody else. But shout out to like the LeBron James and Savannahs of the world. Shout out to the Currys, right? There are a lot of those examples that there are the black unit, right? But again, it's like those families, it's kind of tough because those families that are wealthy in the spotlight, all those different things, it's almost like people are searching for them to have a downfall. They're
Oh, they're
waiting
100% waiting.
for the
100% waiting.
scandal, the issue,
Yeah,
the
got to.
something, a reason to be able to tear them down. But that's not the case with every other relationship.
Huh. That's a whole nother conversation. So what narrative did your culture? Maybe you're not black, right? And you're watching this and trying to get some insight on it, or maybe you are. What narrative did your culture or upbringing teach you about your family or marriage that you had to unlearn?
Mm,
Because there's a lot of
mm,
things over here we had to unlearn, right? And it's like, hey, I've heard this my whole life, but no, black women do respect me. I had to unlearn that.
mm-hmm.
And so, man, what's yours? We'd love to hear from you. Let's go to another one. What's the blueprint for rebuilding?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I think it's very important. Forgiveness.
Hmm.
I think it's important to, possibly have therapy, conversation, communication,
That's her favorite word, isn't it?
right? Partnership, prayer,
Hmm.
100% prayer, purpose,
Yeah.
just driving into those different things, I think is very important for like formula for healing.
Hmm. I think that's big because for me, when I hear like the formula, the blueprint for like rebuilding, I don't think anyone that creates a legacy is lucky. Like I don't think you can.
Yeah.
I think it's intentional. I think it has everything to do with leadership. I think it has everything to do with again your formulas and being very clear on what you want to create for yourself. So that'll be my big one. So what does legacy look like for you and your family?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because everyone has a different perspective on it.
Absolutely.
Right? We would love to hear that. Maybe you're just starting out, or maybe you're starting from scratch, whatever that is. I would love to know that from you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And I think it's very important that we don't just build something for our children, that we're also building for our culture and for our community as
Yeah, it's
well.
important.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Very much.
So, I mean, we talked about a lot of things today. I mean, we talked about, if you really break down from the beginning to your boy Shamamor, you love him so much, right? From the images that are posted out, right? To breadwinners, can a woman make more than a man and be okay? All right. You love that 17%, right? To programming, dividing what we've been sold, what's the narratives have been sold to, rebuilding. Um, and now it's just about what are you going to do? What's the call to action, from the conversation? So, what's the closing thoughts, from this, this being the Juneteenth series, and us talking about really positioning the narrative that's been exposed?
Yeah, I think it's just very important for us to uplift families and uplift the stories that are thriving.
Hmm.
It's very important for us to do that because there is a majority of Black families that are thriving.
I agree.
And, understanding that the legacy that we are leaving, we talk a lot about the legacy that's been left to us, but thinking about the legacy that we might be leaving for our children, and being forward thinking in that way, you move differently.
Hmm.
You move differently.
I agree.
And I think it's so important for us to understand about the fact that our children and our grandchildren will one day be looking to us, and we will be the ancestors. We will be the stories that they talked about.
Yes, I agree. And, we just hope that we gave them the tools to be able to build better than we built, right? And
Exactly.
when I think about it, I think like honestly, like family is first in the classroom, and
Mm-hmm.
then legacy is the graduation.
Absolutely.
And I mean, honestly, like what are you really building together? Ultimately, that's the whole point, right?
Yeah.
And I think the world needs a better model, and it needs more examples. So hopefully, it inspires you to make sure that you are rebuilding and have those structures too. So
Absolutely.
yeah,
Absolutely. Well, we hope that you enjoyed this today. Hopefully, you'll join us next time.
yes,
Again, happy Juneteenth.
yes,
Why don't you today, for celebrating Juneteenth, go ahead and today post somebody or uplift or highlight somebody that you know is a Black family that just needs to have that spotlight. But we're excited
mm,
for you to be here today. And again, whatever's inside of you that might feel endangered, something that could shine bright into the world, don't make sure that you're not putting a basket over it, but you're letting it shine bright and you're allowing it to be seen and heard for the world to change. So,
that's it. And if you're like me, and you have a sugar mama like you can make more money than me any day of the week, baby. I'll be
what?
fine. Just play it. I'll
Okay.
just play it.
I'm like, am I? It's a little backwards
It's all good.
definition of sugar mama, but
All
perfect. I'll
right.
take it.
All right. You guys have a blessed one. We'll see you guys next one.